I asked Father Ripperger. I was with Father Ripperger not too long ago. And we were talking about the sin of communicatio in sacris with non-Catholics and with heretics. But I said to Father Ripperger, I said, it's my understanding that if it's a Catholic prayer that's not created by a Protestant like the Our Father, I could pray with it. And he goes, no, you don't even do that. You can stand there quietly. You can even bow your head, but you don't participate because we must be united in truth to have communicatio in sacris, that is communion in sacred things, which is sacraments, prayers, liturgies, etc. That was the teaching up until Vatican II. Then all of a sudden at Vatican II, it's like, let's drive down to the Lutherans and pray with them. Let's have a rabbi come in on Maundy, Thursday and do a Seder liturgy. What? I got in trouble with a local priest here in Texas because he made the announcement that he was going to be participating at the mosque in a thing coming up and asked everybody to pray for him as he participated in this. I don't think they call them liturgies, but whatever they do. I went up to him and I said, now, Father, if I understood you correctly, I heard you're saying that you're going to go pray at a mosque. He's like, yeah. And I said, well, I mean, they're not baptized. They don't pray in Jesus' name. And he goes, well, you haven't been studying Pope Francis. And, oh boy, here we go. He said, they're monotheists. And I said, it doesn't matter. They're not Catholic. They're not Christian. You can't, you as a priest going into a mosque and praying are essentially telling them it's A-okay to be a Muslim. He said, it is okay to be a Muslim. I was like, how? They don't have baptism. They don't have the Eucharist. They don't have the sacraments. They don't even know that Jesus Christ is the Son of God. They said, well, they believe Jesus is a prophet. That's not good enough. We've defeated those heresies. He said, well, Thomas Aquinas says we have to follow our conscience. And I said, Thomas Aquinas also says we have to form our conscience in accordance with natural law and divine law. So if you go in there and say, hey, it's cool to be Muslim, follow your conscience, you're malforming their conscience as a Catholic priest. Do you think this Catholic priest enjoyed this conversation with me? No, I didn't enjoy this conversation. But it has to be said by someone. You know why I had this conversation? I actually drove away and called my wife Joy and told her what the priest said. And she said, well, go back to the church. I said, why? She goes, you got to confront the priest. And I was like, are you serious? She's like, yeah, if men like you don't confront these priests when they say stuff like this, nothing's ever going to change. And I said, you're right. See, I got a good woman backing me. She put the fire under my feet to be the man. The priest said, well, if you studied Thomas Aquinas, you would know you got to follow your conscience. I said, I did a PhD on Thomas Aquinas. I didn't say that. I just quoted and said, you have to form your conscience with natural law and divine law. I even said, if you go in there and affirm Islam, you're affirming polygamy because it's part of Islam. He didn't like that. Then he says, that's the problem with you pro-lifers is you have no mercy. Now, up until that moment, we hadn't talked about the A word or any of that. We hadn't got anywhere into that pro-life realm at all. We were talking about Islam. But what he wanted to do was paint me with a broad brush as some mean pro-lifer with no mercy. That's how these liberal priests, these modernists, dialogue with people they don't agree with. I did call him out on that. I said, you don't know me. I raise money actively to help single mothers. I'm active in that movement. Don't try to label me as a hateful, mean, conservative bigot who hates single moms and just wants, no, we're not going to play that. And I was like, you've called me a fundamentalist. You've accused me of being a pro-lifer, doesn't care for women. And I was like, I don't really see how this conversation's going to get any better. And he goes, I agree. And people tell me, those trads are so rude and mean. No, wait till you stand up to your Novus Ordo pastor modernist. This is the Pope Francis religion. It's not Catholic. Telling Muslims to be better Muslims is not the gospel. It's weakness. It's fear. You know who wasn't afraid? St. Francis, the founder of that pastor's order, who went to the sheikh and said, Muhammad is a liar and a false prophet. Francis was hoping that they would kill him and he would become a martyr. Instead, they just liked him. They thought he had integrity, spoke the truth. They didn't kill him. It's too bad Pope Francis is more like St. Francis.